Hey guys, it's Tex. Today's Monday, October 7, 2019. I just want to go over a quick trade that I took here on NVDA because I think there's a good lesson here pertaining to divergence. So you've heard me talk about this before when you're trading these large cap stocks, that you want to make sure your trade is in alignment with the market. And what do I mean by that? Just that if you're trying to short one of these large cap stocks that doesn't have a specific catalyst on the day while the market is literally ripping higher, chances are the trade's probably not going to work. However, there are instances where you can still have divergence without a catalyst on the day, and NVIDIA was a great example of that today. So I took NVIDIA short at the same time the SPY was literally ripping. But why did I do that? First of all, for some context, let's go to the daily chart. And we see that NVIDIA had this nice run up for the last 2 days and today, and it's coming right into a pivot high right here. So very clear resistance right across here and basically coming up and testing that level this morning. You could almost say this is like a bullish chart pattern setting up, right? You have your cup as it pushes back up into that previous resistance level, maybe pulls off of that, puts in a higher low, and then breaks out, right? So either way, it's pushing into a key resistance level. So even if this is a cup and handle chart pattern setting up, you would expect a pullback first and then the breakout. So most likely there's not going to be a lot of buyers interested in buying up here. All right, and we go to our 1 minute chart and we see that, turn our drawings back on here. All right, so we see that NVIDIA has the push up in the morning right into that area, right? Technically didn't test the 188.40. It rejects right off of the 188.27 area, which is a pivot level, pivot resistance level from the pivot study, and it pulls off of that, right? And then it curls back up and it tests it again right here. Puts in a slight lower high or like a little mini double top and again pulls off that level. And then once more, a third time, it comes up and puts in a legitimate lower high here. So 3 times it comes up and it tests that level. 1, 2, 3. It doesn't like it, right? It's clear. You can see that NVIDIA does not like that level. There's just not buyers up there interested in buying. In fact, there's people selling up there. So when you see that, right, that is obvious that most likely NVIDIA is not going to break that level, at least not today. So the first thing I ask myself is, after I see those 3 rejections, I'm like, okay, so NVIDIA doesn't like that level. I'm thinking that NVIDIA is probably going to pull back today, but what's the market doing? Is my trade in alignment with the market? And the answer is no, it's not, right? We go and look at the SPY, and what's the SPY doing this morning? Let's go to a 5-minute chart. It's a little bit cleaner. So the SPY trades right into the top of its August trading range right here, 294 level. It breaks it on this candle, pulls back, holds it as support on that candle, and then continues to rip higher. So we have basically 4 5-minute candles where the SPY is just ripping higher. And when I took the trade short on NVIDIA, it was like right here, kind of in between here, as the SPY was just ripping higher. And I noticed that as the SPY was literally ripping, it just had this huge green candle, just a big rip higher. NVIDIA barely budged, right? So I knew that, okay, NVIDIA should be moving higher. It should have moved higher than it did with the SPY ripping that much, but it didn't. So if the SPY even has just a small pullback after this rip higher, NVIDIA is going to have an even bigger pull. So basically right here, you see that the SPY has these 4 5-minute candles ripping higher and then just this small pullback, right? This is just a bullish pullback. It basically just pulls back down here into the 90 EMA on the 5-minute chart, holds it and pushes higher. Nothing significant, right? Just a small pullback. But what does NVIDIA do at that time? So let's go to NVIDIA 1-minute chart again. All right, so I'm in NVIDIA right here. 11:07 is when I took the trade, and I'm in, you can see my entry right here at 187.90. So I'm in right there. That's when I take the trade. And all throughout this time, what's NVIDIA doing while the SPY is literally ripping? It's not going anywhere. In fact, it's actually starting to form a mature lower high. You can clearly see that these highs are lower than the last high here. This high is slightly lower than that high there, right? So it's obvious that NVIDIA doesn't want to go any higher. And so with the SPY just ripping and NVIDIA not even hardly budging, it's going to pull hard if the SPY has even just a small pullback. So when I saw that big green candle in the SPY, and this is all NVIDIA could muster, was right there, I decided, yeah, I'm going to take this short. I think there's a good chance NVIDIA is going to pull if the SPY just gets a small pullback here. So I'm in at 187.90, and obviously I'm risking right here. A combination of our high of day, you've got that pivot resistance right there, and our pivot high from the daily chart. So I'm looking at about 45, 50 cents risk on the trade, you know, maybe 50 cents with some slippage from my entry up to here, like 45, 50 cents, like I said. And obviously my first target should be the VWAP. Why? Because we're above the VWAP. So you would expect that on any pull into the VWAP, it would probably at least initially hold as support, right? So as we get this pull down into the VWAP right here, that's where I'm starting to take my position off. And you can see I'm taking some off at 187.27, 187.06, and 187.11. So that is right here, taking my first piece off. 187.06 is right here, right about here. I'm taking my second piece off. And then at 187.11 was on this green candle as we start to lift up off the VWAP. I'm taking a little bit more off there. So I've just shelled out 75% of my position, locking in a point per share. So I realized 2-to-1 risk reward on the trade already, and then just letting my last quarter ride. And I've got a stop set at break even. Just about got stopped out on this quick little wick up. And this is one of the reasons I don't like to short NVIDIA, because it does tend to have these kind of whipsaw reactions, like almost nervous shorts, if you will. But fortunately, no, I didn't get stopped out there, and still riding the rest. I think that there's probably a little bit more meat on the bone here. I mean, when we look over here, NVIDIA is still clearly struggling. It can't even get back above the VWAP, right? It came down and tested this pivot resistance level right here, and I thought about taking it off there, but I've got a trailing stop set now. So if NVIDIA gets above the VWAP, I'm going to make sure that I lock in the rest of the trade green. And overall, I mean, it was, it's not, not like a huge move, but you don't have to have a huge move. The risk reward was there. The setup was there on the daily chart. Really love that. And then you see that divergence with the market and you realize, okay, this is a high probability setup. If the market just has a small pullback, NVIDIA is going to pull even harder than the market, and most likely going to be able to lock in a high conviction green trade. And that's exactly what happened. So with that, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. Like I said, the biggest takeaway from this is to look for instances like this when you see divergence. If you see a great setup on a chart like we did with the NVIDIA daily chart, and you see the SPYs literally ripping faces off, but NVIDIA's, or whatever stock you're watching is barely moving because of, key resistance overhead, there's just no buyers interested in buying up there. You know that even a small pull on the SPY, you're going to get a decent move on the stock in your favor. So that's an instance when you can trade against the current, right? So you have to have the right, you have to have the right elements in alignment for you to take a trade against the current, but it's always possible when you see that, see things like that setting up. So hopefully the video was helpful, guys. Hopefully I explained it well for you. I appreciate it, as always, for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.